Would you be the jerk for telling your own mom to stop playing the victim? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for not responding when someone doesn't use my actual name? My 16-year-old male name is Nico and it's not short for anything. On my birth certificate it says Nico, middle name, last name. This is something a few people can't understand and some people call me Nicholas. Even teachers who see me on the class list as Nico and not Nicholas. I'm a foster kid. I've been in the system since I was 2. My mom is the only bio family I know, but she's not able to take care of me. I see her twice a year through court-ordered visits, but nobody in her family and I don't have anything to do with my paternal side. I've been with my current foster family for 3 years, and I'm really happy with my foster parents and foster siblings. My foster parents actually want to help the kids they foster, and their kids are cool with their parents fostering and don't bully me or others for stealing their families, so I hope I get to stay until I age out of the system. My only problem is some of their extended family are snobs, and they don't like calling me Nico. They call me Nicholas even after being corrected a million times. My foster parents have explained that my name is actually Nico, not Nicholas, but the reply is always, "But Nico is short for Nicholas." A couple of the extended family have encouraged me to change my name because Nicholas sounds much more professional for an adult male, which I will be soon. I was like, no thanks. My foster parents told me I should ignore whenever someone calls me Nicholas now, unless they're new and just assume, but I can ignore their family members who do it. So that's what I did. I've ignored them a handful of times now and it bothers them so much. Yesterday it happened twice because one kept trying to call Nicholas over and I just didn't go. The others asked Nicholas to pass the potatoes at dinner and I kept eating and didn't pass anything. I was then called out for ignoring them, and my foster parents said nobody knew who they were talking to because there was no Nicholas at the table. One of my foster sisters said she assumed it was her, Nicole, and they got confused and that's why she passed it instead. I was told I should be more open to the wisdom others offer with name suggestions and stop being rude by ignoring people. Even though my foster parents backed me up again, it made me feel a way because this really is my best foster experience, and I don't want to pee off people in my foster family. So, am I the jerk? So even beyond all of the innate I feel bad for OP because of the way they're even having to experience growing up, OP's clearly not the jerk here. You have a name, and even in a situation where you prefer to be called a name that isn't your legal government name, you deserve to be called by that name. Unless, of course, your choose a name is like a hate crime or something. But regardless, I actually caught myself doing something sort of similar recently too, and it wasn't a big deal. They didn't even mention anything about it, but I have a friend whose name is John, and I kept calling them Jonathan for fun, like, "What's up, Jonathan?" And then I stopped myself and realized and asked, wait, is your name even actually Jonathan, or is it just straight up John? It's just John. It also reminds me of basketball player Jimmy Butler. A number of years back, he had a really good game and his coach said, "That wasn't Jimmy Butler out there, that was James Butler." At the next press conference following that, Jimmy Butler said, "My name actually is just Jimmy, it's not James." White Knight Primal commented, "Not the jerk. Your foster parents sound great and clearly have your interests at heart. Even the other kids, at least one anyway, are standing up for you. Your name is Nico, not Nicholas. It's extremely rude and disrespectful to deliberately call you by a name that isn't yours, especially with repeated corrections. It's even more rude and disrespectful to practically demand you to change your name from something you like and see as yours to something you don't like and don't want. There's also nothing wrong with Nico as a name. Sure, it's not common, but it's not really weird either. Your name is your name and no one else gets to demand it be something different or call you by a name that isn't yours. Keep listening to your foster parents. It's them and their kids you want a good relationship with, not so much the extended family. And if you back down now, the extended family will never respect you and will continue to demand you change things they don't like against your will. Continue ignoring anyone who calls you by the wrong name unless it's an honest mistake. Continue listening to your foster parents and letting them stand up for you. That's part of their job as foster parents, and they're proving they're great at it. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my wife that the house we're gonna build won't have 5 extra rooms for her mom, her 3 brothers, and her cousin? Was looking at house plans to submit to the town hall for approval for an acre we own out in Minnesota. 4-bedroom, 1 for wife and me, 1 for each of our 2 kids, and an extra room as a playroom or game room. Where's my family staying? She already promised them that they would move in with us, and she is now furious that you only care about yourself. What about me? I told her that I didn't agree to that from the start. Now she's looking to sell the land from under me to prove a point, I guess. Info: the land is owned jointly by me and my wife. It was purchased using the life insurance payout we got for the death of our 1-year-old girl in 2021. Between then and now, I got a manufacturing job with a federal government contractor. Her family has no stake or rights to our land. I got a call from the town's registrar about the ownership change inquiries for the land. We actually own 2 parcels, and I offered her to sell one parcel to her siblings for market value, but she declined. The house will be paid by me. I told her if her family want, I can do an ADU, but they'll pay market value for their rent per room, so about $900 each. She declined. My current course of action is to transfer my ownership of the land into a trust with my kids as primary owners, with express instructions that only direct descendants of me may build and live on the property. I think OP is not the jerk, and it's specifically about the part where she sprung this on OP without ever running it by them. I would imagine it would be pretty important to be completely upfront about all the things and all the intentions going on with that house. I mean, if we're operating like that and tacking things on without ever mentioning them, I sure as hope they don't question why I added a secret door that has a super swirly slide leading all the way down to the high-tech gaming room at the bottom. Maybe just add like a ball pit you slide into at the very end for fun. It's kind of like an amalgamation of all of my childhood dreams for a house. Secret hidden bookshelf doorway with a super slide down to whatever super awesome game room at the bottom with neon lights, that 90s bowling alley arcade carpeting on the floor. LK Farrell commented, "Not the jerk. I'm guessing her family would also be a financial burden? Why else would they need to live with you? That many functioning adults should be able to pool together, buy their own land, and build their own house. However, who owns the land? You may be selling it soon to divide the marital assets anyway, if you don't want your wife's relatives living with you. If the land is in her family or was her inheritance, I would change my vote, but if you purchased it together, my vote stands." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my mom to shut the freak up since she's a liar and her opinion doesn't matter? My dad died when I, 18-year-old male, was 6. My parents had separated at the time and mom was already dating her husband at that point. They decided to get married and give me a family unit after losing dad. Then, within a few months, they were sitting me down to say they wanted to change my last name to their last name. Mom said it was important so that her husband could do his part to take care of me without issues concerning last names. I told her I wanted to keep my last name, and her husband wasn't my dad and I didn't want to lose more of dad. I even cried about how important it was to me. She and her husband promised me repeatedly that they would pay for me to change my name back as soon as I was 17 or 18, and it was only to make life easier while I was younger, and people would make life more difficult for her husband to do certain things with me. I always regretted it, but believed for a long time they would follow through. But about a year ago, when I mentioned it to my mom, she told me there was no rush, and I told her I wanted the name changed before graduation so I could have it on my diploma. There was a lot of back and forth, and her husband decided to add his own "what's the big deal anyway" comments occasionally. He would also say his name had been my name longer than my dad's name had been at that point, and I said I didn't care, and I wanted my actual name back that was my actual dad's name too. Eventually, my mom admitted she wasn't going to pay for me to change it back, and she believed I should keep her husband's name because he'd raised me for so long and had done so much. I said no. She told me it wasn't my choice, and I told her she wouldn't stop me once I turned 18. I also told her that she was never going to have a good relationship with me again after lying to me and letting me down. She called me overdramatic, but I spent the rest of my time living with them cold and somewhat hostile, and I shut them out as much as I could. Mom kept and still keeps trying. I moved out of their house and in with my cousin, and I filed the day after my 18th birthday to change my name back. My court date's coming up very soon and my mom knows about it because of extended family. She's tried to forbid me from changing my last name back, and she even lied and said her husband adopted me too, so I couldn't. But I confirmed that that didn't happen. Eventually, she told me I was disrespecting them as my parents. I told her then to shut the freak up because she's a liar and I don't care what she has to say about this because her opinion does not matter here. My mom started crying and I told her good. I told her that she lost me over this and it was her own dang fault. I told her I would have never have said yes to the change had I known, and I told her to suck it up because she was not in charge of me anymore. Some extended family are backing my mom because of how I spoke to her, and mom told me I had no reason to speak to her like I did. Am I the jerk? OP's definitely not the jerk in my opinion. I think what the mom did here was a completely violating thing. OP has an identity that they want to be recognized as, and they agreed to this limited term thing to make it easier on him. To do that bait and switch and basically say to OP's face, you know what? I think we're just gonna keep you this way forever. That has to feel like an innately, extremely violating thing. Like in a way, it kind of feels like they're flexing their ability and strengthening their grip on your autonomy. I mean, I'm even surprised that she even tried this, he adopted you so you can't change your name back. What does that even mean? Why would you not be able to change your name to whatever you want it to be? If a 25-year-old Hawaiian organ donor with one single name of McLovin can get by, I think OP has a very easy time changing their last name to whatever they want to change it to. RubyChan228 commented, not the jerk. You did have reason to speak to her like that. The reason was that she cruelly stole a part of your dead father from you and lied to make you comply with the theft, and now has the utter gall to be indignant at you trying to make yourself whole again. If she didn't want you to be so angry, she shouldn't have stolen something so profound from you. And she is from another planet if she thinks she's somehow the victim because she merely got a tongue lashing after the awful, awful thing she did to you. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my husband I'm done with his help around the house? My husband, 34-year-old male, and I, 31-year-old female, have been together for 8 years and married for 5. We both work full-time, so we've always split household chores. But here's the thing, his version of helping is a nightmare. For example, I'll ask him to help with laundry. He'll agree, but instead of sorting things like delicates or checking pockets, he just throws everything into the washer on one setting. This is ruined clothes and stained things beyond repair. Same thing happens in the kitchen. He helps by making a mess while cooking, but he leaves everything piled up in the sink and somehow manages to dirty every dish and pan. I've tried teaching him, suggesting easier ways, even leaving little checklists, but he always says he knows what he's doing and dismisses my advice. I end up spending double the time either fixing what he did or doing things over from scratch. And whenever I bring it up, he says he's trying his best or accuses me of being too picky and controlling. This came to a head recently when he helped me by cleaning up our living room right before my friends came over. I thought he had done a great job, until one of my friends found my birth control pills in the junk drawer because he decided to tidy by throwing everything into random places. I was embarrassed, but when I told him, he laughed it off. So last night I told him I'm done with his help and would rather just do everything myself if he's not willing to do things properly. He got upset, saying he's just trying to make things easier for me, and now I'm criticizing him for helping. Now he's barely speaking to me, and I'm feeling conflicted. Am I the jerk for telling my husband to stop helping if he can't do things right? OP's not the jerk here. I think he's obviously intentionally being dense, especially when it comes to something as simple as cleaning up the house, like just a quick tidy up before friends come over. Like, I think he has to pick up those birth control pills and willingly choose, I want to just throw this in a junk drawer, do the laziest, simplest, non-caring-ist thing possible, rather than take the 2 seconds of instant consideration on where this might be a little bit better. I mean, it's not like he even necessarily has to put it away, but like put it on like the bedside table or whatever. The problem here is when he replies, I'm just trying my best, chuckle, 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 he's not just being crappy help, he's being a straight-up liar to your face. Yeah, like whatever commented, as others have said, this is weaponized incompetence. His goal was never to help, but to frustrate you to the point that you just do it yourself, and he no longer is obligated to contribute. There are a few ways to handle this, but my suggestion would be that since he wants to help his way, you let him handle things on his own, but only things that affect him. Don't do his laundry. He refuses to separate things or wash them on proper settings? Then you wash your clothes and he can sort out his laundry on his own. He dirties every pot and pan in the house when he makes dinner, then you have separate meals that you are responsible for cooking and cleaning up after. He surely lived on his own at some point, correct? What did he do when he was on his own? Wear ruined and stained clothes and wash every pot and pan every night after dinner? I bet he didn't. He's doing things like this now because he has you. When things start affecting him directly and you aren't coming in behind him to fix it, I bet he'll stop being so helpless. Our next story is, would I be the jerk to ban my son's girlfriend from my house? My 52-year-old female, son 22-year-old male, has started bringing his girlfriend over a little over a month ago. The first time he brought her over, I took it quite formally and cooked up a feast, but it soon became obvious it's becoming a daily thing and not just a one-time formal thing. The first meeting she came quite a bit late and the food was cold by the time she came. No pardons or anything, and when we were done, everyone helped to pack up. And we thought she would kind of get the notion, but since it was her first time here, we didn't say anything. As for desserts, I like to do this thing. Example for cupcake, I'll prepare the icing and everyone would gather and decorate their dessert. But she made it quite clear from the get-go she wasn't interested in it and stuff. So for basically the last month, she's almost here daily and she would request for specific dishes with no thanks and stuff. My other son, 17-year-old male, has also verbally called him out on her not contributing anything gently, but she said something around the lines of, "No ring, no wife duties." I don't see this as a wife duty. I would do this for my friends, hang out, and everyone in my house put a hand in. My daughters, my husband, and my sons. So today, when my son told me that she requested a specific meat pie for dinner, I am quite done. However, I don't want to affect my relationship with my son over this, especially since he really likes her a lot, but I'm really considering banning her from our dinners. It sucks because I don't really see a great way for OP to enforce something here and not have it impact their relationship with their kid, but I think OP is completely valid here. I mean, I would be exhausted with this kind of stuff, showing up, asking for specific meals, and then never doing anything to even show appreciation or return the favor. I mean, I feel like your son's kind of lucky that you even allow the girl to be over all that time to begin with. Lord knows how many stories of strict parents you hear about that would never allow a girl in the house with their son. Kinsley Turner commented, "So this girl you barely know is showing up daily, requesting specific meals but not helping with prep, setting the table, participating in food rituals, decorating desserts, helping clean up, or even saying thanks? You should tell your son she needs to learn some manners and at minimum won't be welcome to family meals until she learns some. Also, the nerve to request a specific meal? Jesus, I've been with my partner for 12 years and only ever requested something for my in-laws when they've wanted to cook me like a birthday dinner and they asked me what I wanted." Our next story is, am I the jerk for walking to my dad's house instead of spending the day with my mom's female partner? When I, 15-year-old male, was 13, my mother, a bisexual woman, cheated on my dad with one of her female friends from college she reconnected with. My parents divorced and my mom married her partner. I'm an only child and I live with my mom during the week. We're quite close. Her partner makes a lot of money. So much money that my mom thinks it doesn't make sense for her to work and she's a stay-at-home mom. My relationship with my mom's partner is tense. At first, I didn't mind her. Since my mom doesn't work, her partner provides for her. As long as she provided for my mom and made her happy, I didn't care. My mom provides for me with child support money from my dad. Issues started quickly arising when my mom's partner started intruding on my life. She tried to look through my laptop but couldn't crack my password and demanded I open it for her. I refused. There was a massive argument and my mom took my side, which caused tension between my mom and her partner. Next, she started judging me for my eating habits and weight. She started making comments about how I'm looking chubbier than usual and should stop eating so much fast food. I literally eat what my mom cooks at home. She also demands, since it's her house, I always keep my room clean and organized. I have no issue with this. She's right. What bugs me is that she'll come into my room at like 6 a.m. and will yell at me while I'm asleep to start cleaning. All this BS results in a lot of daily arguments between us. I've started going to my dad's after school instead. This causes my mom to freak out and beg me to go home to her. I hate doing that, but I love my mom and do it for her. A few days ago, my mom sat me down with her partner and asked both of us if we could figure out a way to get along. A couple hours of discussion and there was an agreement to try to be more respectful. Despite this, a lot of the same behavior keeps going on. And today, on the birthday of my mom's partner, my mom asked if I was going to celebrate with them. I thought about it and said no. My mom told me I don't have a choice. Since her partner provides for her, we both owe her basic decency and respect. She told me to get ready and dress nicely since we were going out to eat. I had a freak this moment, so when my mom went to shower, I decided to leave the house and walk to my dad's place. My mom freaks the freak out and calls me. I don't pick up, so she calls my dad and he tells her where I am. There was a huge argument between the two and at the end of it, my dad congratulated me on standing up to my mom and her partner despite being such a jerk to them. Am I the jerk? Especially because OP's mom's partner is not actually any kind of parenting authority. OP's not the jerk for wanting independence and freedom and space from somebody that's overbearing like that, and clearly nobody else in that house is going to hear OP out or stand up for them, so OP has to do so for themselves. Crazy Heather 345 commented, "Not the jerk. Your mother's partner doesn't treat you with decency or respect from the sounds of it ever. She oversteps boundaries all the time despite not actually being your parent. Your mother didn't treat you with decency or respect when she committed adultery, tore you away from your stable family, and turned your childhood upside down. You clearly still resent this. You need to talk about it. You and your mother. First, without her partner present, if necessary. She needs to be prepared to listen to you so you work this out, parent the child. If she isn't prepared to do that, she's a pretty massive jerk." Our next story is, would I be the jerk for telling my dad I felt like an accessory to his family vacation? I, older teen, gender fluid, recently went on a vacation with my dad, his girlfriend, her daughter, and her daughter's partner. It was a trip to Universal Studios, and normally I would not agree, but he insisted that this would be a very me-centric trip, and I would be able to make a lot of decisions. We got to the Airbnb after his girlfriend, we'll call her April. She very quickly made it clear she had no real interest in talking to me, but that was okay because we didn't have a lot in common. My dad really drove home that her daughter, Maya, and Maya's partner, Eli, would be much more talkative with me. They got there later that night, and I attempted to start a conversation with them, but they insisted that they were tired. I went to my room, only for the sounds of all of them playing video games to start up only 10 minutes later. I was hurt, but brushed it off. The next day was the first day at Universal Studios, and I had to go pick up my disability pass. April and Maya insisted on going to Nintendo Land first, and I agreed since it was the newest park and would probably be much busier. We went there and went on the Mario ride very quickly with my disability access pass. After that, we went on a few more of the VR story rides, and I kept quiet because I knew they'd probably get pretty busy later on, even if I didn't like them. We got food after, and the rest of the group said that they wanted to do another few rides I wasn't very interested in. I told them that that was fine and that it would probably split off to go do my own thing, but they were very against this idea. They brought up how they would have to wait in line forever without my disability pass, only backtracking to come up with another lame excuse when I gave them a weird look. I ended up going off on my own and riding the only few roller coasters that were there. We met up later, and they all mentioned how the lines have been okay, but they definitely would have gotten on faster had I been around. I ignored it, and we went on a few more rides as a group before going home. The next day was a pretty similar story. We stuck around for the horror nights, and I was pressured into going to all of them because Maya and Eli would be able to get in faster. Towards the end of the night, I decided to ride front row on the Jurassic ride, because I figured if I got wet, I could just go back and change before I got overstimulated. Unfortunately, the ride got stuck and I was sitting in wet clothes for over an hour. My dad then snapped at me for not telling him what I was doing when I went to go get said clothes. I was forced to play one card game with them after, which wasn't fun. I went back home and told my mom all of this, only to find out that my dad had been complaining to her that he felt like an ATM the entire time. I'd like to add that the money he was giving me was money I'd asked him to hold on to for me because I was notorious for losing things. OP's not the jerk. I mean, from the get-go, they were told, oh, this is going to be very you-centric. Don't worry, you're going to call the shots and we're going to listen to you and respect you. And then they kind of revealed the truth, which was they kind of just wanted OP there for the advantage of getting on rides faster. I mean, they can say otherwise, but the way OP was treated, it pretty much blatantly feels that way. I mean, it sounds like they brought OP along solely to make their experiences that they wanted to do, that they were making the decisions for themselves, better. Sexy Wall Poster commented, not the jerk. You were an accessory. They used you as a fast pass to get on the rides that they wanted. Not a single moment of consideration was given to you or your wants while you were there. Aside from the times that you went off to do your own thing, they complained because they weren't getting what they wanted, because you're a person and not a fast pass. Your dad likely caught flack from April when Maya and Eli couldn't use you to have fun. None of them made any attempt to be kind to you or even be friendly. Even when you were fulfilling your fast pass function, they couldn't be bothered to be nice to you. They ought to have at least 1, gotten their own actual fast passes, 2, been more considerate of what you'd like to do, 3, or failing all that, been kind enough to buy you food and souvenirs to pay you back for your time and helpfulness. They're all crappy people, simply put. You won't see an apology because they were fine with using you for their own gain. Best advice moving forward would be to decline any activities that they can use you to benefit from. If you do feel like vacationing with them again, maybe make a plan to include someone who won't do that, like a friend, so you can go do the things you want to and enjoy someone who is actually there for you and not your ability to skip lines. Best wishes. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my mom to stop playing the victim and ruining Thanksgiving? My mom and I have always had a strained relationship. Growing up, I learned early that everything had to be about her needs, her feelings. I was expected to manage my emotions around her, tiptoeing through every interaction to keep the peace. If something didn't go her way, she would somehow twist the situation until she was the one hurt, the one who'd done everything right and was never appreciated. I hated the way it made me feel, but I told myself that one day I'd have a chance to set boundaries, to live my life without walking on eggshells. But as an adult, nothing's really changed. I still find myself anxiously checking my tone, weighing every word before I speak, just to keep her from making herself the victim. This year, I decided to host Thanksgiving for the family, and I promised myself it would be a peaceful day. My mom could come, but I would just focus on keeping things calm. No drama. Things were fine at first. My dad was cracking jokes, everyone was catching up, and I started to think maybe this time would be different. Then, as we sat down to eat, my mom started in. First, it was the small jabs and comments about how I never call, how I'm always too busy for her. I tried to brush them off, but then she moved on to bigger things, saying how family means so much to her, but she feels like she's the only one who cares. That's when she launched into her usual spiel about how much she's sacrificed, how no one appreciates her, and how she's such a good mother who's never shown gratitude. I could feel my blood start to boil. I tried to hold my tongue, but I couldn't do it. I snapped and said, "Mom, you really need to stop playing the victim. It's exhausting and it's why we don't get along." The room went dead silent. She sat there, shocked, before her face crumpled and she started crying. She called me cruel, heartless, and said I'd ruined Thanksgiving. She said she'd only ever tried to love me, but I was too selfish to see it. She stormed out and my dad followed her, giving me a sad look, like he knew this was coming but couldn't do anything about it. Now the family's completely divided. Some of my relatives have called me to say they understand, that she needed to hear it, but others think I was heartless, that I could have been kinder or more tactful. They keep saying she's my mother and that one day I'll regret speaking to her this way, but a part of me feels like I had to say it. If I didn't draw the line now, I'd be stuck in this cycle forever. I'm conflicted because I never wanted to hurt her. Especially not on Thanksgiving. I just couldn't keep pretending her behavior was okay. She refuses to see her role in our issues, and I'm tired of always being the one who has to accommodate her feelings. So, am I the jerk for finally telling her the truth, even if it hurt her? I don't think OP's the jerk here. I think it's years of bottling this up, finally just unleashing, blowing off the cork. Maybe some people will argue, maybe you shouldn't have done it at Thanksgiving, maybe you should have been more tactful. But like after all those years experiencing what you did and experiencing it again in that very moment, how much longer and what special event that would bring you together would be the actual right one to do so? Because I'm assuming with her treating you like that, you're probably not showing up every other weekend. St. Alvis commented, "Not the jerk." They quote, "That's when she launched into her usual spiel about how much she sacrificed, how no one appreciates her, and how she's such a good mother who's never shown gratitude." They write, "Ma'am, this is Thanksgiving. You seem to be looking for the opposite holiday." Our next story is, am I the jerk for canceling plans after being left stranded for hours while meeting a girl for the first time? So I, 22-year-old male, had plans to meet a girl, 21-year-old female, that I'd met on Hinge a couple of months ago. She was in town for a wedding and had an extra day, so we decided to meet up. The plan was to meet around 3 p.m., grab some food, and then go clubbing later with both of our friends. 2 nights before, she asked if I could pick her and her friend up from where they were staying. I told her I'd already made excuses to my parents about not coming home that night, and since my apartment was 90 minutes away, I thought we would just go to the club together afterward. She agreed, so I picked her up around 3 p.m. The day went fine initially. We drove around the city and then came back to the same place where I picked her up to grab some food. After eating, she asked her friend to come downstairs and they wanted to buy booze to pregame. I suggested we just pregame in my car since my friend had some alcohol, but they wanted to go upstairs to pregame instead. I couldn't go up with them since it was a PG, no boys allowed, so I just stayed in the car while they went inside to drink. They told me they would meet me around 10 p.m. to head to the club. I ended up stranded outside for 3 hours with nothing to do, which was super frustrating. I went to my friend's place nearby to unalive time, but I was still pretty ticked about the situation. At that point, I was really annoyed, feeling like I was just a chauffeur and that the plans were being completely disregarded. I'd already made an excuse to leave a wedding I'd been at for 2 days to meet her, and now this. I thought about canceling on them later in the night and making them change their plans, but ultimately I just canceled the whole thing. Texting that I was stuck with my cousins for a small get-together, they ended up going to the club without me. So, am I the jerk for canceling on them last minute, or should I have just gone along with it even though I felt like I was being treated badly? Alternatively, I could have sticked it up back to them by canning the plan even later and ruining their plan too. I don't think OP's the jerk here, especially because OP didn't even really detail them having much of a response. They clearly didn't care all too much about OP's well-being or experiences at whatever get-together. It almost sounds like they were just trying to use OP as like cheap Uber alternative. I mean, I hate to even suggest it, but maybe that's what the Hinge thing was about the whole time. Was just trying to find some guy in the area to mooch off of when they're back in town. Mando's mustache commented, "Not the jerk. As long as you were respectful in your text saying you plan to stay with your cousins, then I don't see any problem. Maybe I'm old, but I thought the point of a date is to spend time together, and she chose to leave you for 3 hours alone when you'd both planned to go out, then there's no need to wait around. The other side of this is, why was her friend there? Did she feel uncomfortable? Was she hoping you'd leave? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.